Hello and welcome to the Knitting Traditions Podcast. My name is Inga and this is my little corner on the internet where I talk about my knitting. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I am so sorry it has been this long. I feel very rusty. I have a lot of knitting to show you today. I have finished objects, lots of new whips and older whips that I'm taking out. I'm getting ready for fall, honestly, because on the west coast of Norway we haven't had summer. Summer forgot us this year, so I'm already getting really excited about all the things that I want to be knitting on in the next few months, and I wanted to share that with you. I hope that you are well and that you are having a lovely summer or winter if you're in the southern hemisphere. And I would love to know what you're knitting on and what you're excited about. And please share that below in the comments. And yeah, I just really want to know what everyone else is knitting about. I'm feeling the mojo, the inspiration, and I'd like to share it with you guys. I am back home. I've been home for 2 days, but we have been traveling for about a month. Settle in with a beverage with me. I have some coffee and milk. And before I get into the knitting, I am wearing a finished object for me. This is... See, it's been that long. I think it's the Lola dress, but I will check my notes because my brain does not function. Yes, it is the Lola dress. It's a pattern by Sandnesgarn, and I knit this with some mill ends that I bought at their factory store. So in their fabric, they sell mill ends that are not perfect for a very affordable price. So I bought about 1.2 kilos of this poppy red tynn linen for around less than $40 US, and I think about 30. And I held it double because this pattern is knit in linen, and tynn linen held double is the same as linen. I used 3.75 millimeter needles, which is smaller than recommended because I didn't want it to be see-through. I wanted to be able to wear it without anything but a nursing bra and underwear underneath because it's already such a heavy garment. And I'll see if I can put in a photo or something to show you the dress. I started it in April, the 13th of April, and I finished it the 18th of June. So for Nellie's baptism, I was wearing my bunad, but then as everyone had left and Matthias was driving back home, I sent the bunad with him, and I wore this for the rest of like the smallest amount of the celebration. And yeah, it was a lot of knitting, but I like stockinette knitting. So I think, you know, there are different kinds of knitters out there. There's people who will get bored with a lot of stockinette, and then there's people who kind of need that stockinette to kind of relax and zone out. I like a mix, so sometimes I like something more intricate, something more involved. Other times I have no brain space to think and I just want to knit that monotone, mindless, stitch by stitch, not having to look at it. I can do something else, have a conversation, watch TV, look out the window of the car when I'm not driving. And that was this for me. It was that mindless stockinette. At first it was, you know, you do things, but for the skirt part, which is floor length, it's just over 400 stitches of stockinette for a very long time. But I really enjoyed it. I could see myself making another one in the future, maybe a shorter version just to have a different kind of dress, but I do really like this. I'm only missing pockets. But I will be knitting myself a skirt in the future with pockets, and I'll get back to that in future plans. But yeah, a lot of fun knitting this. Sometimes I was a little bit sick and wanted to get it done. Other times I just really appreciated having that mindless knit. And right now I'm kind of missing that mindless knit, so I might need to get a little bit further on some of my older whips that I'm going to bring out again now. I'm thinking maybe the InNOut Raglin, because that's just stockinette, and a Raglin is mindless for me, or it doesn't involve a lot of brain activity. Yeah. So I finished this just before the baptism, which was in June, and then I'll show you this. And then we spent time with family and Matthias's family, and it was just very nice and relaxing. It's also really nice to be back home on my own couch again with all my knitting, not living out of a suitcase. And yeah, just had a really lovely time. And now we're back to working on a little bit of projects outside and knitting inside. So I wanted to show you the dress that Nelly wore for our baptism because it is knitted. Now this is not knit by me, but it was knit for me when I was a baby by my grandmother, the one who taught me to knit. And I don't know what pattern she used, and she didn't remember the name either, but it is knit in a cotton yarn, a white cotton. It has some lace motif all over. It's, as traditional baptism dress is, very long. The end is wider with some beautiful lace as well. And in the back it's just plain white, except for the silk ribbon at the bottom, which is going around to the front and up. And then I just sewed it to the top on each side. I should have used a safety pin or something to thread the ribbon through, because there was a light blue ribbon from when my brother wore it last. It's been worn by lots of my cousins as well after me. My youngest brother was the last one to wear it, and now Nelly. So I took the blue out and I put in this very beautiful rust color. It is a lot more me and Matthias than baby pink, and Nelly looks really good in this color as well. And the plus size is it's unisex, so if, you know, if we have another kid or somebody else in the family wants to use it, it is possible to just use this color and not spend a very long time threading a different ribbon and trying to make it look neat, because that was time consuming, a lot more time consuming than I thought it was gonna be. So yes, I adore this dress. Personally, I think she was the prettiest baby in the church. And then she also had this little bonnet that barely fit. She was 5 months old when she was christened, so this was just able to fit her cute little head. It also has a little silk ribbon. And then there's also a matching blanket for the pram that my grandmother also made, and this one has a silk lining. The dress also has a silk lining on the inside that she has sewn into it. Or maybe it's cotton in the dress. The dress might be cotton, but this one is a silk. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful knitting by my grandmother. I'm very, very pleased that she did this knitting for me as a child, because then I had this beautiful dress ready, and I didn't have to do much. So now I just need to embroider Nelly's name on the inside, because that's what we have done with everyone else in the family. The names and the dates are embroidered on the bottom hem, and there is just space for Nelly's name and my brother's, because my mom did not embroider his name into it. So I will do that, then Nelly's, and then future kids will have to go further up on the skirt's inner hem. So I don't know the name of this dress, but if any one of you recognize it, please share it down below and I will add it in the description box. I do know that on Ravelry there are other beautiful knitted baptism dresses. I think Drops has several, so if you want to knit one, have a look there, see if there's anyone you like. Yes, gorgeous heirloom piece. Now for the rest, I think I will show you the finished object, and then I will move into first adult whips, and then I will do children whips at the end. Just kind of section it out in case you don't like baby things, then that will be at the very end before acquisitions. But I do have some finished objects, and besides the dress that's from me, the other finished objects are for Nelly, who is now 6 months. Time goes so fast. Please stop. But yeah, I have some finished objects for her. So I will show that now, and then I will move into the whips for me. Yes. So the first finished object has been in the works for a while. There's only one thing missing, and that is a button in the back or something else. You can help me decide. This is the lacebat dress, which is a pattern from Knitting for Olive. I did not use the yarn from Knitting for Olive. I used some stash yarn that I had bought in Turkey because I love this color. This is gazzal wool and silk hand-painted yarn, which is 20% silk and 80% merino. It's about 350 meters per 50 grams, so it's a lace weight. And I did a swatch to see if I could use it for this pattern. This pattern uses, I think, the Knitting for Olive pure silk or their merino, which is like a light fingering. But for this yarn, I held it double and I had to go up half a needle size. So holding this lace yarn double on 3.5 millimeters, I got the right gauge. I did not, however, get the right row gauge. So for this pattern, there's a lot of stuff happening with the sleeves. Look at these gorgeous sleeves. Now this has not been blocked yet, but I think it's already really pretty. And after you've done the top, you knit the skirt, and the skirt has increases. You can see that there is some color variations to this hand-painted yarn. Now, since I did hold it double, I did switch one yarn at the time, but still this section here is a lot darker than here and here, but that's fine. Nobody's gonna see. It's a lot more visible on camera than in real life. So once I had done all the increases and finished, I measured it, and I see that even though I knit the 1-year-old size, the length of this dress is more like the 2-year-old size. This, I was thinking of being a Christmas dress for her, and I think she can use it. She's a long baby, and I'm hoping that she could use it maybe also when she is 2 years old, because it is quite a oversized torso. The sleeves are, I mean, they fit me. And the only limiting factor really is the neckline, which is supposed to be closed in the back with a button, and there's like a little loop thing here to put the button through. I am toying with the idea of not doing the button and instead doing maybe 2 I-cords or 2 braids that can then be tied in the back like a little bow. And that way it can be all the way closed. Let me turn it around. That way the back can be closed all the way by tying it together, or you can tie it more loosely and have a wider neckline. And that way, I think this dress could be used for a much longer time. Let me know what you think. But I do think maybe that's what I'm gonna go for. What else can I say about this? Yeah, the pattern is from Knitting for Olive. The color of this is antique moss. The gauge was 28 stitches. And I started it in April and I finished it in July. But it was just like this much knitting left. But when I stopped knitting here, I was knitting on this dress, and it was just 2 stockinette projects, and I focused on finishing this one, since this one I wanted to wear this summer, while this is for Christmas. But once this was finished, I got back to this and it was done in just a couple of nights. With Matthias's mom helping it with Nelly, I did get a little bit more knitting time done, though not that much because, you know, socializing and life is also important. So, but now it's finished. Just need to do those things in the back. So I'm going to see what you say and then I'll make my decision and get it done. But it's done, essentially. Speaking of Matthias's mom, she knit something up for me. So I bought the yarn, but I did not knit this myself. She knit this. This is the Romper, which is a pattern from Viking garn in Norway. And I have been talking about knitting the Åsmund romper, which is essentially this, but without the frill or peplum on top. I have bought 4 balls of this yarn at their outlet mill in different colors. And she knit this one for this fall and winter, and there's still a ball and some left. The pattern book, if you can get your hands on it, is this one, and it is the romper on the front that she knit, just without the embroidery, just because she also thought the embroidery was a bit faffy and not necessary for me. I think it's very cute without it and can be used for more babies probably than just little girls. And yeah, the yarn is Alpaca Liten Storm. The number of this pamphlet is 2132. The other pattern that I'm going to knit with the other colors that I have is this one without the peplum. I just think it's really a useful knit for layering, and when kindergarten starts, I'm going to knit it in 1-year-old and up in this brown color, beige color, and light green, yellowy green. I also have a more yellow color at the cabin. But now one is out of the way, ready for the fall, and then I'm going to knit some bigger sizes later on. This for me is semi-mindless because it is just stockinette, raglan. It's just the bottom part that maybe is a little bit more brain necessary. Not really, just a little bit more. So yeah, that is some finished objects not by me and future plans all in one. Next, I finished another romper for Nelly. Oh, and the dress, I had 6 balls of yarn and I think I used almost 5. This one I didn't touch and I have this much left of one. So almost 5 balls when I held it double. So that's about 2.5 50-gram balls of fingering weight equivalent. So, but in 50 grams. How much did I even use? 5 times 250 grams I used for this dress. Next, I finished a beautiful romper for Nelly. I just need my cheat sheet. This is the Henry drakt. Look how cute this is. This is a pattern from Sandnesgarn again. Sorry about all the Sandnesgarn patterns. I've just been getting a lot of inspiration from them and going to their mill with their yarn. It happens. But there are other patterns on Ravelry. If you can't get the 2106 pamphlet from Sandnesgarn, there are similar rompers to this on Ravelry. It's just a simple back and forth stockinette romper with buttons on the front. I think in my previous episode I mentioned the name of one. It might have been a drops pattern that you could knit if you want to make just a simple romper for a kid. This yarn was gifted to me from the Athenian maker. This is the organic pima cotton, 220 meters per 100 grams, and it's botanically dyed in grease. And this is just perfection. She did such a great job. And she's a very small business, and the quality of her yarn is stunning. It is so soft and there's no pooling. It's so good. Highly recommend checking her out. She has an Etsy store and I will link it below. And the color is Iokasti or Lokasti. I think it's Lokasti, Iokasti, something like that. I knit the 2-year-old size, thinking that she can wear it when she is 1.5 next summer, and she can probably wear it this fall, spring, and next summer, because it's just going to be a bit long between her legs, and then she will grow into it with age, because again, it is quite wide and loose and drapey, and it's going to be so cute. I had 200 grams, but I still have quite a bit left, maybe half a skein, because it comes in 200 gram skeins. So I used maybe 150 grams. And I started this at the end of May and I finished it again in July. I used 3 and 4 millimeter needles, and yeah, it's just a very simple, cute design. I got these wooden buttons that I thought were perfect for this in the end. One of the buttons have a little bit of a defect, which made it a little bit more difficult to sew on. So it hangs a little bit further out than the other ones, but it's still fastened quite tightly. So hopefully she's not going to be able to rip it out. Cotton is a very strong fiber, so I think she would have a hard time, but I'll still keep an eye on her. But yes, very cute. Very happy to have this done. I have another yarn from her that she sent that I'm going to knit something else up in, and I'm thinking maybe a dress. So that is one. Last finished object to show you before going into the adult knits is a simple Raglin sweater for her. This is a free pattern from Romper, which is called, did I write it up? Charlie høyhalser, which is just the name Charlie and then tall neck or turtleneck. I did not use the recommended yarn, which is a yarn which is about 350 meters per 100 grams. I instead used tynn gynt from Sandnesgarn, which is a lot thinner. But I used the same needle that's recommended in the pattern, which is 3.5, at least I think that's what's in the pattern, to get a more loose and thin fabric, because I want this to be a sweater that she can wear now in like late summer and fall without it being too thick. And it's definitely feeling quite woolly. I've not knit with gynt or tynn gynt before. If you're sensitive, I don't think this is for you. However, I have not blocked and washed it yet, so it's probably going to soften up quite a bit and even more with wear, but this is not merino. This is tactile, rustic. But the colors are beautiful. I did make a swatch before going on holiday asking you for different combinations, where the yellow is the tynn gynt, but the other colors are Sunday, which is the untreated merino from Sandnesgarn. A lot softer than the tynn gynt. But I didn't quite like the combination of Sunday and tynn gynt because they felt quite different, and they also behaved a little bit different on the same needle size, gauge-wise. So I opted for 2 colors in tynn gynt. So the banana yellow I had from the factory outlet, and then 2 balls of this pink fuchsia. The colors are 4600 and 2114. The 2 pink balls I bought at my local yarn store, and I do think that the fuchsia pink and the banana yellow is a really nice combination. So maybe if you're looking for some color inspo, those two colors I think are very cute together. It almost looks like a warm white, but up close it's banana. So I knit this for her in the 6 to 9 month old size, but I did knit it just a tiny bit longer in the sleeves and body so she can wear it also this winter. And it's easy to just roll up the sleeves and then it fits now. So versatile. If you cannot get your hands on this pattern, it really is just a simple raglan where you do 2 rows of one color and then you swap and you do 2 rows of the other color. And you change the color at the raglan, so it's kind of invisible at the top part. For the circular part, I did helical knitting and you can kind of see it here. I'm hoping that it's going to block out. I don't know what it is about me and helical knitting. It's just, or no, not helical knitting, jogless stripes. This is jogless stripes, but it kind of is visible. Some people make it look a lot neater. It just doesn't work for me. I've been trying to hold my tensioning different, my yarn different, but yeah, I don't know. It's visible. For me, I think next time I will just change colors on the side and have that be slightly joggy on the side, but it's going to be less visible than this kind of weird line going down the front. But yeah, easy to get this stripe pattern for an adult size sweater or another raglan for a child. Just do 2 rows of one color and then change for 2 rows of the other. I cast on with the pink and I bound up with the pink, just thinking that it's going to be more practical with the dark color on the edges than the light color. And also to avoid those pearl bumps showing pink in the yellow and yellow in the pink, I knit 1 round of ribbing, and then as I changed color, I just knit all the stitches. And then I did the second round with ribbing. So it's not visible with those little pearl bumps. And I think it worked out fine. I need to drink something. I'm getting a little bit dry. Chugging cold coffee. Now I had 50 gram balls of these 2 colors and I have this much left. So the 6 to 9 month so the 6 to 9 month size of a raglan sweater could easily be done if you have like 2 odd balls of some fingering weight yarn. Probably could also do the 1-year-old size with 1 ball of each. So it's a great little scrap buster. You could do different colors as well if you have smaller scraps. So that's a lot of fun. You can play with stripes. You could do all the different colors as well. But yeah, so that just needs to be washed and blocked now, along with all the other finished objects from my holiday that has not been dealt with yet. Yes, so those were the finished objects. Now I want to move into whips, some fun whips. And let's start with maybe one of the older ones of the whips. This is my Walk with Nellie project. It's a sock project and I am using my twister from Twister Sisters to hold the yarn, but right now I have it in the car because I took this in to show you. I have finished the first sock tube and almost done with the toe. I didn't have magic loop needles or long enough needles with me to do magic loop on, I think 2.25 millimeters is what I'm using for this sock, or it might be 2.5. But I didn't have that with me on my holidays, so I knit the tube until it was long enough, and then I started the toe. The yarn is a self-striping Harry Potter yarn from Stripey Cat Yarns. I am using the orange mini to do the cuff and the toes. I don't think I'm gonna have enough for the heels, so I will find some other stash yarn that I have for that. I knit the toe with a circular fashion, so knit 6 rounds, then knit 2 together, knit 6 stitches, knit 2 together, knit 6 stitches throughout the round. Then I knit 5 rounds with no decreases, and then I knit 2 together, knit 5 stitches, 2 together, knit 5 stitches throughout. Then I knit 4 rounds of nothing, and so it goes until there's no stitches left, or maybe when I have 20 stitches, I will just knit 2 together throughout, so there's 10 stitches, and then weave it through the end to make a nice rounded toe. So I did that until I couldn't manage to knit with my circular needles anymore. Then I put it on one of these rubber cords. I love rubber cords for holding stitches, my favorite. So that is almost done, and I started the other one. So as I was walking with Nelly in the pram and my sister-in-law, or Matthias's sister and mom, I was knitting a little bit. So I finished this and I started the second one, and now I'm gonna put it back on my twister and have it for when I walk with Nelly carrying her. So it's just a really fun colorway, and since I haven't put the heel in anywhere, I'm just gonna snip a stitch and unravel and put half the stitches on top and bottom on a magic loop needle and knit a like Kitchener stitch style heel. I can place it wherever I want, so either if it's going to be for me, or if I'm going to gift it for Christmas for someone, then I can put the heel wherever it would need to go to fit that person's foot. However, I do really like this colorway, so it might just be for me, but we shall see, we shall see. So that is one whip. I'm gonna put it back down and throw it over there. Another whip that I have. Let's see. This is my bag. I think I showed it last time. This is from the Knitting Swan, which I'm an affiliate member of. So if you use the code Inga, you get 10% off. This is her collection from the summer with the poppy. She also had cherries, which is also gorgeous, but I wanted poppy for my poppy red dress. And I love her bags. This is my go-to project bag. I have some travel needles in her needle case, which I took with me this summer, and her new Notion pouch, which I asked her if she would consider making in her new collection. It's just perfect. It has everything that I need on the go, which is a ruler to check gauge and also to check needle sizes. I have some cute little stoppers in here, little reindeers. I have stitch markers. I got some new ones from the Knitting Bureau in France. And then I got my row counter thingy. We call it a knitting fish in Norway. I like this for certain projects. However, I have not yet been able to find one of these that does not catch the yarn when you're knitting with thin yarns. So if you know of one that doesn't have that it snags on the yarn, please let me know. But I haven't been able to find it because mostly these are handmade and the loops are closed. Once you attach it, you close it, and it's that little join that snags the stitches, and it annoys me, so I don't use it that often. I got some of these rubber things in here for holding stitches. I've got my darning needle and I've got my scissors. So in this one now I have some very sharp small ones. but I think I'm gonna swap it out for one of the cute gold scissors that I have upstairs. So yeah, the Knitting Swan Thou, she's just a great artist. She creates the illustrations herself, and the quality of their bags are amazing. So I can't praise it enough. Very proud to be her, I don't know, supporter, affiliate member, whatever that is. I'm honored. It's beautiful bags. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an affiliate member. They are really good quality. Now, next long-term whip to show you have gotten quite a bit done because I was knitting on this when we were driving, or like this is the project that was in the bag. I've been knitting a lot on this in the car because we were driving from Matthias's family who live like 11 hours by car ride away from here. Now we drove it in sections, but still a lot of car knitting. This is the nellike blanket, which is a free pattern from Hobbii. Okay, we're back. So the nellike blanket is a free pattern from Hobbii. I have knitted twice before, an orange one for myself or Nelly, and then I gifted a like sea greenish blue one. Now I bought some more of this yarn in Turkey in April to knit a bigger version, just because it was really nice to have a cotton kind of airy blanket just for a little bit of heaviness without giving warmth when we were in Turkey, and we are going again in September. So I wanted to make a bigger one that she could use this fall and next summer, and I don't know, we'll see how long it goes and how useful it will be, but I do think it'll even be a nice lap blanket for me. The yarn is, let's see, it's Alize Bella Ombre Batik. It's 100% cotton, and it changes from dark pink to light pink. And this color, does it say on here? It's the color 7404, and I am almost done with the first ball. So I just have the center left, and I'm going to finish the first ball, and then I'm going to join the second ball from the center and knit outwards so that it goes from dark, light to dark again. I think I did an extra repeat of the pattern compared to what is in the pattern online to make it bigger. I also went up a needle size, so I am using, I think, 4. I have it somewhere in here. I have to go back. I'm using 4.5 millimeter needles, so that is creating a lot of looser of fabric than I knit on the previous 2 versions. It also makes it go just a little bit quicker to make it a bigger blanket, but I think it still works for this gauge. Not that I've checked a gauge, but I like the fabric. It is what I want it to be. It's not the quickest knit because every second row you're doing knit 3 togethers, and you're doing left and right leaning increases, though I think I'm just doing left leaning increases. It doesn't really show because it is a garter fabric, and once you've done just a few rows after cast on, you can kind of see where you are at, but there's 8 stitches between when you have to either decrease or increase. So it's quite a repetitive pattern. Every second row you just knit, so that's nice. But it is a lot of stitches in a cotton yarn with some increases and decreases, which makes it a little bit slower of a progress. but I'm almost halfway done, and it's just gonna continue being a car knit, I think. Sorry, some little interruptions. So yeah, where was I? This will go back in the car. I think it's going to be a continued car knit, and if I don't finish it in the car, I will take it with me on the plane when I go to Turkey and finish it there, and just knit on this monogamously until it is done, I think. Okay, we are back at it. Next, I have in my little bucket here, I have another whip that has gotten a lot of attention in the past few weeks. This is the back. This is the Loon turtleneck. That's the Norwegian name of the pattern. I think it's snug turtleneck in English. It's a pattern from Wittre design that has a very oversized body and then a snug neck and snug sleeves. I have knit this before in like a lovely blue electric alpaca mohair blend. Can't wear it because it itches me. But I do love the fit of it. And then I decided, oh, I'm so out of breath from running up and down the stairs. Breathe. Jennifer Knits from LA, which is a yarn store in LA, sent me some lovely not mohair, a lovely boucle yarn in cashmere. And I felt it and I swatched it, and it was the perfect gauge for this sweater and the perfect feel of the yarn for me to be able to wear it close to my neck. So I cast on, and I have finished the body. I have almost finished the neck. I have about halfway to go, and then it's going to be folded in on itself. I have half a sleeve and another sleeve to go, but it used up a bit more yarn than expected, so I'm still waiting for the last balls of yarn to arrive to finish up this gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous piece. Let's see if I have some more notes on like the specs of the pattern. So yeah, Loon turtleneck from Wittre design. The name of the boucle is riccioletto. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but somebody said it's pronounced like in cappuccino, that riccioletto is the name of this base. The color is 7194. I'm using 5mm needles to knit the medium size. The gauge is around 14 stitches, and the dialot of this I have written down, but that's not of relevance to you. And somebody's coming in. Okay. A lot of interruptions today, sorry. So yeah, very excited to have this done. It's going to feel beautiful and so soft. And I put a little stitch marker here to when I split for the front and back, just to make sure it was easier to measure, because with a boucle yarn it is really hard to count your rows and stitches. So that's a little thing that I usually do when I knit those bottom up designs that split front and back. Yes, there. Next is a new whip that you have not seen. I bought some yarn on sale when I was going to the local yarn store of Matthias's mom, and they had these two on sale because they were not gonna have them anymore in stock. This is alize from garn. It's a 56% mohair, 26% silk, and 18% wool blend. It's 50 grams of 325 meters, so it's a thicker silk mohair than the typical Telia and Knitting for Olive and Sandnesgarn silk mohairs, tynn silk mohairs. This one is somewhat thicker. I have knit the björkgenser before, holding one white and one green strand together, and that has held up beautifully, and it's very nice to wear and I love it. So when I saw that this was, I think it was like 70% off, it was quite a big sale, I bought 5 balls of each, thinking that I could make 2 sweaters, either holding this double and this double or combining them. I did some swatching and I realized that the nicest look with this yarn was to hold 1 strand of this together with 2 white strands. And I couldn't really find a pattern to fit what I was going for. I wanted just something oversized and simple with the gauge that I like the fabric of. So I kind of just whipped out something myself, and I will share it with you if you want to do the same. And with that kind of construction, you could really make a sweater with any yarn in your stash, though I do recommend something big gauge and lightweight. So this is what I've been knitting on, and it is very simple. And as you can see, the body of the sweater is quite a little fun, speckly business. And then as I was knitting the sleeve, the color manifested in a different way, a sort of a spirally way. Now this is the front. Oops. And I don't mind that. This is just like a fun project, and I don't even know if this is for me. It's not really my colors, so this most likely will become a Christmas gift, and I have someone in mind already. But yes, so the construction of this pattern is I knit a gauge swatch, and then I multiplied my gauge swatch. So let's say I have 10 stitches per 10 centimeters, and I want an oversized garment. So then for me, that is maybe 130 centimeters. So that's 13 gauge swatches in the circumference. So I take my gauge and multiply it by 13, and that's how many stitches to cast on. Then I knit for about 30-35 centimeters, depending on how cropped you want it. I think 30 would be a nice crop length. I have 35, so it's below where my pants would end. And then I take half the stitches and put it on hold, and then I knit back and forth on the other half for the front for about 20 centimeters. Then I bind off the center 1/3 of the stitches. Then I knit the back 20 centimeters and bind off the center 1/3. You could also do some German short rows in the back to make it slightly longer, or just knit it a little bit longer, but you don't have to. And then I Kitchener stitched the live stitches on the front and back shoulders together. So it's almost invisible. My Kitchener stitch isn't perfect, but it's not super visible. And the neck is just bound off. There's no ribbing or fancy edging or anything. And then I picked up stitches around the circumference and just knit straight until it reaches cuff length. Sorry. And then I knit until cuff length around here. Then I knit 2 together throughout the round, knit maybe 3 or 4 rows of ribbing, and then bind off. I forgot to say that after casting on, I knit 3 rows of ribbing for this one, just so it doesn't curl up too much. And I can put it on, and here as well, I did put a little progress keeper in the back when I split, just to make it easier to see or measure those 20 centimeters before binding off. So yeah, here you have it, a very simple, I mean, it is kind of cute. I might keep it. I think it would be Really nice to wear with jeans. It's very flowy, loose, very lightweight. This is my second ball of the colored one and my third ball of the white, I think. Yeah, so it doesn't use up a lot of yarn. I could have made it longer, but I kind of like this length for this sweater so I can still see my watch and things. Looking at it on camera, I am enjoying it. I might keep it. We'll see. We shall see. I just have to knit the second sleeve and then it is done. And I am using 8mm needles. I think I said that. And for me, with my gauge, I cast on 160 stitches. That gives me about 130 centimeters circumference. Knit 3 rounds of ribbing, then I knit 35 centimeters, then I split the front and back, knit for another 20 centimeters, bound off the center 1/3, Kitchener stitched the shoulders, picked up 60 stitches for each sleeve, knit straight until the cuff, knit 2 together throughout, then knit 4 rounds of ribbing and then bound off. And voila! You have a sweater to fit your yarn and gauge. I'm thinking maybe in the future I'm gonna do like a special episode on how to design based on the yarn that you have to, you know, make a swatch and find a pattern to suit it or create your own thing. How to modify a pattern if you have a different gauge and those kind of little math things that I do all the time. Maybe, you know, life is busy, but I would like to do that one day. I think it could be useful for people to kind of use the yarn that they like instead of having to get yarn for specific projects, because it isn't necessarily too difficult to do some smaller modifications. So yes, that was one whip. Another whip that I have is a blanket whip. Now, Laura from Penrose Knits, or Laura Penrose, has finally released her Stella quilt blanket. Is that what we call it now? She has this Stella quilt cushion pattern, and then, yeah, the Stella quilt blanket has now been released, and I have almost finished my third square. It's not something that I knit on all the time, but it's something that's perfect to pick up in between other whips. When I don't know what I want to focus on, I really like to knit on this and do like a couple of squares. I have this far made 3. So I have made a burgundy star, and I've made a dark green star, and this is the gold star, and I just need to finish the last square. But I did not bring this with me on holiday, so I did not finish it. And there's 100 ends because for this square I did not weave in as I went, which she recommends. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun weaving these in before I get to start my 4th square. I am intending this to be a big blanket for a king-sized bed for me and Matthias, so I have done maybe 3 out of 15 squares. We'll see how many I need to do in the end, but as soon as I have 4, I could join them, and then that would be a functional blanket for Nelly, or a lap blanket, until I get around to finishing the rest. I am using DK weight yarn, so I have several skeins in my yarn stash of 100 grams, like single skeins. This I think is some wishbone yarn. It's a DK weight. The green is Lore from Fibroco, and the burgundy is Knit Crate Vita Lana. And I am using a little bit less than 100 grams because I was worried for some of the 100 gram skeins that I have are closer to 220 meters, while some are 260 meters. So for the shorter meterage one, I was a bit worried of running out, so I think I'm doing like 1 or 2 stitches less than in the pattern, and that does leave me with like 20-gram minis of some of the colorways, which will be great for socks or other projects, so that's fine. I'm using the same white yarn for all of the squares. This is Rauma Lammull, which I bought at their mill on cones, and I'm holding it double to get a DK weight gauge of about 240 meters per 100 grams when I hold it double. So that is going to be finished eventually. I don't really have a lot of stitches left to just finish that square, but it's the weaving in ends that's kind of keeping me, but it's a beautiful project and I really enjoy knitting on it and finding which colors to put into it, so I highly recommend. She also has the pillow version, which I'm also knitting on, but turning it into a blanket. I just really like blankets, and I'm gonna have a mal this fall, so stay tuned for that as well. Now, before, I have done some project on this as well. This technically borders on being a baby knit, but it is also a blanket, so depending on what size you make, right? This is the Dainty Daisy Granny Square blanket. It's a free pattern with advertisements on a blog, but you could also buy it as a PDF, and I did that. But honestly, the links in the pattern for this is enough for you to make the blanket. So even though I bought the pattern to support her, I've only used the video links to do this because I'm not a crocheter with a big C. I'm a knitter, so I don't really know how to crochet on the top of my head. I need to have visual instructions. And since last time, I have joined all the little flowers that I have made this far. I have joined them vertically, horizontally. I've joined them in one direction. I still need to join them the other way. It's maybe not even a baby blanket size. It's quite small. I need to do more blankets. I need to do more squares in order to add on to this, but I think this is the kind of project that I will probably work on if I'm in Turkey or something, because it's small and cottony, and it's not what I want to knit on here or crochet on. But it is looking very cute, and I will finish what I have this far and weave in the ends eventually. Nellie is very interested in all these colors, so if anything, it could be like a little play mat for her. And then in the future, I will add on, because I do have more of this cotton yarn, so I can make more in the future. And making the squares really isn't that time consuming. It's just weaving in ends and those things that are a little bit not so fun. Yes. Another whip that I'm taking out now is the InNOut Raglin, which is a recipe from Ivana from the Republic of Me. On her blog, she has a fantastic recipe of how to create a top-down raglan for yourself, with whichever neckline you prefer, using whatever yarn you have in your stash. Speaking of, you know, how to create your own garments with whatever yarn you have, you should check this pattern out. I had started it before I went on holiday, and now I'm going to pick it up again to be one of my more mindless knits. This yarn is actually hand spun by Ivana herself. She sent me this as a little mom gift when I got Nellie, and it smells beautiful. It's, I think, Shetland yarn. I wrote it up in my little notes. Yeah, it's hand spun Shetland. It's a brown undyed wool, so this is the sheep's natural color. I'm using 4 and 5 millimeter needles. My gauge is 16, and I went for like a little mock turtleneck. I have just started my second skein for this project, and it's just knitting up beautifully. I wish I wish I was a good spinner and that I enjoyed it as much as knitting, because there is something very special about hand spun, and it's going to be a stunning sweater, and I love the color. I just want to light a scented candle, make myself some spiced tea, and sit and knit on this while watching Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or something cozy. And yes, I do think Lord of the Rings is cozy. It gives me cozy vibes. So I have not hanked or caked up the hanks yet. I just like to look at it in all its glory. But I will have to cake up some more soon, because this is going to fly off the needles once I just focus on it. But I kind of wanted to just savor it a little bit. My whip pile here waiting for me to have some me time. This recording for you is my me time today. All the interruptions is Matthias taking Nellie in and out on walks to keep her happy, so I can record for you. Yes. Okay. We are getting close to, we're now moving into like the resting whips that I am deciding on whether or not to knit on now or not. The next one is an uncertain one. The next one is, let's see the name. This is a lot of modifications to the My Herringbone Jumper by Norgard Knitters. I am using Isair Alpaca 2 and Tilia from Filcolana, and the green one I'm holding with some coned yarn in my stash. And I am using 3.75 and 5.5 millimeter needles. And I did some modifications to the neckline and the German short rows and the style of the neck. I think I'm using the color work pattern from the pattern, but otherwise I have done quite a bit of modifications and I've not written them down. Stupid me. But I do think I've talked about it in previous episodes, so I might just go back myself and have to have a look at what those are. The reason this is not inspiring me so much right now, I love how it looks. I love the color. I love the color work, but I am worried I am not going to be able to wear it close to my neck because of the alpaca content. Now, the alpaca feels really nice and soft. It usually does to me when I hold it, but there is just something about it next to my neck. I don't know what it is, but I might just, like, I can already feel it just tingling my neckline just a little bit. So I'm wondering, you know, should I continue putting in all this work? And this is not a cheap yarn. And I do love the color of the yarn. Should I rip it before I go too far and knit something with a V-neck or something? I don't know. What do you think? I could block it and then put it on some rubber cords and wear it just to see how it feels. I'm really uncertain. I do really love how it looks though. I really like how it looks. I don't like how it feels on my neck. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. It would be a shame not to use these colors together in this pattern. I think it's so nice. Decisions. I don't know if you have the same block that I do, but if I have gotten to a point in the pattern where I'm not sure what to do next, it's a high risk of it just resting there for months, because making that decision requires a lot of me. Oh well. So that is one. Another long-term whip, which I'm not gonna knit on first. I'm gonna focus on these other things, but I will finish this fall. This is the Stella quilt cushion pattern, which is the same as the blanket. It's just some different instructions, and the blanket includes modifications to different designs and how to join them and more things, while the cushion is a square with a backing. I have knit 4 of the fronts with some boucle yarn that I was sent on cones from Italy. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Let's see. This is so far back. Knit Shop Italy boucle, and their synthetic artistic yarn. They had 1 cone of this. They don't have it anymore because they get cones that are left over from the fashion industry. So what they have is what they have, and then they get new things. So you can subscribe to their newsletter if you want to see what they get in. This is all synthetic, but I loved how sparkly and artistic it is. And this is another boucle mohair blend from them. I'm using 2 strands together here, 1 strand here to make this. 4mm needles, about 18 stitch for the gauge, and I started this last year. I have now finished 4 of these. I just need to join them together, and it will be a blanket for Nelly, or a lap blanket for me. I have enough yarn to probably make 2 more of these. I'm not sure. I'm going to knit them, and if it's not enough to make the blanket bigger, those will be cushions, and that will be fine. However, since this is a synthetic yarn, it's not really nice and soft next to skin, so I do want to have a backing for this blanket. Also, my ends woven in are not super neat, so I would like to hide it. There are 2 ways I can see myself doing this. I could either follow the pillow instructions for the backing, which would be knit from here down and then in again here, and then join them together, so there will be like 4 pillow sections sewn together. Or I could join these 4 first and then do the backing for all 4 as a big one, and then just fasten it with some little knots to the fabric here and there, so it's not too big spaces that can be pulled in every direction, if that makes sense. Let me know what you think. Again, this is one of those decisions that needs to be made, which is just making this rest. But look how pretty it is. This is fall for me. Ultimate fall cozy. So that is one resting whip. Another one that I want to take out soon is the pleated whiskey cardigan. And I need to find my notes again. This I started, I think, around the 1st of January this year. This is the pleated whiskey by Baby Cocktails, and this is knit in the McCausland 3-ply. I'm knitting the 2nd size, but I have a wrong gauge. So for me, knitting the instructions for the 2nd size is giving me closer to the 4th size in the pattern. And I have finished the pockets of the sweater, and I'm working on the body. I am loving how this is turning out. It is, however, a thicker, bulkier knit, and it's a little bit harder on the hands with the tight gauge. So I have not been focusing on it this spring and summer, but ultimate fall cozy. Do you feel it? This is going to be worked on this fall. I really want to have this done for the winter, so I hope I can do that. And another one that's been resting because it is ultimate fall cozy is this beautiful scarf from Biche Bouche, the number 59, I believe. And this is in their Le Gros mohair. They sent me 3 balls of each colorway, gold, red, and green. And I am over halfway done with this. It's such a beautiful yarn to work with, and I've just been enjoying the process, but the colors have not been spring and summery. So I've decided to save it for the fall, and that is around the corner here. So enjoying the thought of just knitting away on this and having a beautiful scarf for late fall and winter when it is needed. I'm knitting on 5.5mm needles for this. And I'm going to knit until I run out of yarn, so I'm going to make it slightly longer than in the pattern, just to maximize the yarn that I have for it. Yes, so that was all of my adult whips. I hope some of it gave you some inspiration. I have one baby whip that I wanted to show you, and that is the Sea Glass Mini that I was just knitting on a little bit last night. I'm gonna see where I have my notes for this one. This is the Sea Glass Mini by Woolen Pine, and I'm using some stash yarn that I was sent from my friend. She gave me some yarns that were in colors that doesn't really suit her, and I'm gonna do the same for my stash to her. This is the Manos del Uruguay Alegria, which is a sock yarn. This one, very much my colors. And I'm holding it together with a white Arvetta. I believe this is the Otono colorway, A9375. I'm knitting the 1 to 2 year old size, thinking that it's going to be great for this winter and hopefully also next winter. We will see how she grows though. It is quite stretchy, and I'm making it long enough to be able to be worn for quite a bit. I'm using 3.75mm needles, except for the sleeves. I'm knitting those on 4mm, just because my gauge is usually tighter on these small circulars than on bigger circular needles. It's knit top down. I really enjoy knitting this color work. It's a 1x1 color work, so you don't really have to watch your tension. Just do a gauge swatch to see what your tension is and then work with that for the pattern, because the floats are consistent. And I like the inside so much that I might even wear this inside out. Just need to be careful how I weave in my ends so it still looks nice. Look how cute that is. From afar, it does maybe look better on the outside. There is some pooling because the Allegria does have some white sections, but I was not going to be doing yarn management and cutting that out. I could not be bothered, so it is what it is. On the sleeves, it looks a lot more even on the smaller circumference, so I do think as a sock yarn for socks, it would look really nice without pooling, based on what I can see here. Yeah, I really enjoy knitting on this. I'm probably gonna make more patterns in the future with a 1x1 color work, just because it is a lot of fun to see how it knits up, and it's fun to play with yarns that, you know, normally I would not use it in a garment. I would use it in socks, but for Nelly like this, it's a lot of fun, and I think she likes it. She tries to grab it all the time, so I think it's good. The Arvetta, I bought 2 balls of this. It's the 101 color. Maybe if I had picked a color that was not in this, there wouldn't be the pooling situation, because now white with white, that's what creates the visible pooling, but I like how it looks, so that's what it is. And this is living in my older Knitting Swan basket bag with the rose motif, which is another one of my favorites. Yes. So those are all my whips. Then I have my plans. So I'm gonna go through them really quickly because I need to go help with Nelly. 1st of October, we're doing a mal, a blanket mal for the cozy fall and winter. And I think whips will be allowed. You don't have to finish it, just knit on a blanket and post on Instagram. I will get back to you with the hashtag, but it's a mal together with Woolly Knit from the UK. They're based in England, and there will also be a discount for their yarn, their Aran weight yarn. This is their Aran weight on cones, and I'm going to use this beautiful yarn to create this beautiful fisherman blanket, which is an Afghan from this book that I bought off of eBay. After watching Anna from the Brook Willow, I have been wanting this blanket. This is the Ultimate Book of Knit Afghans, 1293 from the American School of Needlework. And it's like a sectioned blanket with lots of braids or cables. So that's how it's going to look. So I'm really excited for this mal. And as you can see, I have other blankets as well, but I will be casting this on, and I will get back to you before October 1st with the discount code and more information. But if you want to kind of get ready and be inspired for what you're going to make, that will be happening. And you can use other yarns as well, but there will be a discount from Woolly Knit and a prize for the winner. Another thing that I am going to do is a test knit. Now, I don't really do test knits. I don't need the pressure, but I saw this one test knit and the deadline was until September sometime, and I'm knitting a baby size. So I figured easily doable, and then I might make a matching one for me. And that is the Skeeter skirt. And I will put the name of the designer here. She's a new designer. I think this is her first pattern, and I don't want to get her name wrong. But yeah, I'm doing the baby size for Nelly. Was it 50 centimeters circumference or something? I don't know. The size range of this pattern is huge, from baby to a big adult size. And you can use whatever yarn you have, and I love that. And the skirt has pockets, and I love that. So I'm sold. And I'm toying with the idea of using this yarn. This is Woolly Knit yarn in my stash that I've made a cardigan, Copenhagen cardigan for myself in. And I'm toying with the idea of using this for a skirt for Nelly, holding it double, maybe triple, see what gauge I have, and then knit up a skirt for her. And the skirt has an elastic, so I've gotten the elastic. So now I just need to swatch and cast on. And I'll show you next time if I end up using this or if I'll go with something else in my stash. So that is a plan. I also bought some yarn from Sandnesgarn because me and Matthias drove by going to his family, and I didn't go berserk this time. I just bought this small bag of tynn line in a color that is black, because I am thinking of maybe doing like a top version of this in black without the skirt. We'll see. But that is a plan that will probably wait until next year, because I want to do all of these woolly fall things. And another fall project that I have in mind is one of these two patterns, and I think it's going to be this one, just because I like sweaters more than full-on body with like sleeves and legs. This is the fluffy genser from Jord that I bought on a sale in the local yarn store where Matthias's family live. They had this yarn on sale. It was quite a good sale, and I love the color. So I got enough to make a sweater for Nelly and a matching one for me. And this is quite similar specs to the Drops Air. So I'm thinking of doing the Turtle Dove by Espace Tricot in this, and then do this one for Nelly. We shall see. That is a fall plan, potentially after finishing some of what I already have on my needles. Though I don't let my whips stress me out. They will be loved when they will be loved. Next is, I had a little thing here that I no longer have. I bought some more yarn on holiday at the cabin. I bought yarn for 3 hats. These are going to be balaclavas for Nelly. Not for the fall, but maybe winter, winter after, and the 3rd winter after, to have like 3 different sizes. And I'm also going to use a thin strand of reflector thread around the face and the neck portion, I think, just to make it, I don't know, friendly in the dark Norwegian winters. This might be the 2-year-old size in case she goes into a pink phase, so that's that. This I will probably do for this winter without the mohair. The pattern of the Knitting for Olive balaclava with the little bear ears is what I think I'm going to knit up. And that one has mohair on the head portion, not around the face and neck though. But I think for now everything is going into her mouth, so I'm going to just try and modify it to do 2 strands of their merino and then do the bigger sizes and the colors with mohair. And I am not using the Knitting for Olive for the pink one. So the green one is their merino and their silk mohair in the color Dusty Artichoke. Really like that color and it looks good on her. But the pink I'm using Sunday and Telia, and that's not going to be an issue for gauge wise. It's pretty similar. So that is a plan. A plan for me is a cabled sweater in this beautiful brown cashmere. Again, yarn from Jennifer Knits in LA. This is her pure cashmere, or LP cashmere base. The color 53629, and this is their nuvoletta base. And I'm gonna hold them together to knit the Favo sweater from Fiber Tales. Only modification I'm going to do is I'm going to knit the body a bit longer because I am quite a tall person and the sweater is very cropped. So that is very soon to be cast on. I'm going to finish the boucle sweater and then I think I'm going to cast on this. And I think, yeah, I have one more acquisition. I bought this together with my friend who sent me that scrap yarn for the Sea Glass Mini. We went to a yarn store together after the baptism and we bought 2 each of these. Now this is very similar to the sweater I made for me, which is another reason I'm thinking maybe to keep it, because this will be a sweater for Nelly and she's making a sweater for her girl, which is, they're like 6 months apart, but we're thinking it should be enough for a sweater for them on like a looser gauge. I don't think I will knit it for her now. As I said, this is she's putting everything in her mouth and this is a fluffy yarn. So maybe I will knit it for next fall, winter. We'll see. But it's just a very nice, fun colorway and it was on sale and I love yarns on sale. I'm weak. I'm a weak knitter or strong knitter, however you look at it. Everyone, this is a safe space to indulge in your hobby, your creativity, your passion. Okay, I think that's enough for today. It's a long episode. If you're still here, thank you so much. I hope you are well. I hope you're making all the things that make you happy. I'm so honored to have you following me here. Please give a thumbs up, make a comment, subscribe for more. And for more day-to-day interaction, I'm on Instagram as Knitting Traditions as well, where I try to be more consistent in communicating. But I do hope to record again soon, so it's not such a huge episode next time. Although I know some people like these long episodes, so I'm kind of hoping this feeds into that. And I will see you soon. Bye!